Do you ever step out of frame when someone lifts their phone? Do you suddenly look down, turn away, or pretend to be busy the moment a camera appears? Maybe you laugh it off and say, "I'm not photogenic," or "I just don't like pictures." But inside, there's a tight feeling. Your chest stiffens, your face feels wrong, your body feels exposed. You don't want to be seen like that. And then comes the guilt. Why can everyone else do this so easily? Why am I so uncomfortable? What's wrong with me? People joke, they tease, they say, "Relax, it's just a photo." But your reaction feels deeper than that. Avoiding photos isn't just about the camera. It's about what photographed represents. And most people never stop to ask why. It's not about your appearance. Here's the moment that changes everything. People don't avoid photos because they're ugly. They don't avoid photos because they're shy. They don't avoid photos because they lack confidence. They avoid photos because being photographed removes control. A photo freezes you. It captures you from the outside, not how you feel inside. It locks a version of you that you didn't get to adjust, explain, or soften. And for certain nervous systems, that feels dangerous. Because a photo doesn't just record your face, it records how you might be judged. The fear of being seen incorrectly. People who avoid being photographed are often deeply misunderstood. They are usually highly self-aware. They know how they come across. They notice subtle reactions. They read rooms quickly. And that sensitivity creates a problem. Because a photo is permanent. Once it exists, you don't get to clarify. You don't get to say, "That's not how I really am. That's not what I meant. That's not how I felt in that moment." You lose narrative control, so your mind reacts the only way it knows. Avoid. Not because you hate yourself, but because you don't trust how others will interpret you. When identity and image don't match. There's a painful internal conflict many people don't talk about. The way you see yourself doesn't match the way you look in photos. Inside, you feel thoughtful, complex, soft, alive. But the photo shows a frozen expression, an awkward angle, a moment without context. That mismatch feels humiliating. It feels like being reduced, like all of who you are has been compressed into something flat. So you reject the image, not because you reject yourself, but because the image feels incomplete. An incomplete representation feels like erasure. The rejection wound beneath the camera. For many people, avoiding photos is rooted in past rejection. Maybe you were criticized growing up. Maybe people commented on your appearance. Maybe your expressions were mocked. Maybe you were laughed at for how you looked. Even small comments leave marks. Your nervous system remembers. So when a camera appears, your brain doesn't think, "Oh, this is a memory." It thinks, "This could be used against me." Photos feel permanent. Judgment feels permanent. Rejection feels permanent. So avoidance becomes safety. Social belonging versus emotional safety. Here's the internal dilemma. You want to belong, but you also want to feel safe. Photos represent inclusion, group pictures, memories, proof you were there, but they also represent exposure. And for people with sensitive nervous systems, belonging often came with conditions. Be pleasant, be presentable, be acceptable. So opting out of photos becomes a quiet rebellion, a way of saying, "I want connection, but not at the cost of my nervous system." Control is the core theme. Psychologically, avoiding photos is about control. Control over how you're perceived, control over when you're seen, control over what version of you exists publicly. Photos remove that control. They don't wait for your readiness. They don't care about your inner state. They don't capture your nuance. So for people who learned to manage perception carefully, that loss of control feels overwhelming. So your body resists, not consciously, instinctively. why just relax never works. People often say, just relax, it's not that serious. But anxiety isn't logical, it's physiological. Your nervous system doesn't respond to reassurance, it responds to perceived threat. And the threat isn't the camera, it's being frozen in a moment you didn't choose, being judged without context, being remembered inaccurately. So no amount of smile fixes it, because this isn't about your face, it's about safety. The shame that follows avoidance. After you avoid the photo, something else shows up. Shame. You worry you looked rude, you worry you seemed distant, you worry you're difficult. You replay the moment, you criticize yourself. But here's the truth. Shame often appears when self-protection conflicts with social expectation. You did what your system needed and then punished yourself for it. That inner conflict is exhausting. Deeper psychology. Your nervous system learned through experience. From a psychological perspective, avoiding photos is often a learned response. Your nervous system learned visibility can lead to pain. Attention can turn critical. Being seen means being evaluated. So it adapted. Avoidance is not weakness, it's intelligence shaped by experience. Your nervous system chose regulation over approval, and that choice kept you safe, even if it now feels limiting. The reframe. You're not insecure. What if avoiding photos isn't insecurity at all? What if it's discernment? What if your system knows you need safety before exposure? You don't hate yourself. You don't lack confidence. You're not broken. You're protecting your sense of self in a world that often reduces people to images. Permission to exist without proof. You're allowed to exist without being documented. You're allowed to opt out without explanation. You're allowed to choose presence over performance. Not everyone wants to be captured. Not everyone wants to be visible. Not everyone feels safe being frozen in time. And that doesn't mean you're insecure. It means your nervous system values depth over display. The moment you stop shaming yourself for avoiding photos is the moment you stop abandoning yourself. And that is where real confidence begins.
If you love new knowledge to improve your life, hit subscribe now.